The Earth is in danger in the year 2061 because the Sun is about to become a red giant and will engulf the Earth's orbit within 100 years. The world's nations formed the United Earth Government, or UEG, and launched the Wandering Earth Project, which involves moving Earth out of the solar system using a network of 12,000 massive fusion-powered engines built across the northern hemisphere and along the equator. Humans will live in underground cities built adjacent to and beneath the engines. Chinese astronaut Liu Peking will be heading to the International Space Station's navigation platform to assist in the navigation of the Earth, so he's spending his last night with his son Liu Qi and his father-in-law Han Ziyang, while supervising the gravitational slingshot maneuver of Earth using Jupiter's gravity on his computer. After teaching Liu Qi that Jupiter has a windstorm and is 90% hydrogen, he tells him that he'll return when Liu Qi can see Jupiter without a telescope, and that in the meantime, he'll see his father as a star in the sky. He gives Han Ziyang his astronaut tags after the child has fallen asleep, so that he and his son can obtain the right to underground city residency without having to draw lots. Liu Peking apologizes to her father for everything as he remembers his deceased wife. As the years pass, much of the human population dies as a result of cataclysmic natural disasters such as tsunamis, and the majority of the Earth's surface becomes frozen solid as the Earth moves away from the Sun. 17 years later, in 2078, the astronauts on the space station are scheduled to return to Earth after the Chinese New Year, but Liu Qi, now a young adult, is unimpressed. He leaves a note for his grandfather, then goes to his foster sister Han Duju's school to turn off the power and get her out while everyone else is distracted. He takes her to a bar to see Yi, a criminal who can get them fake IDs and stolen thermal suits. Because the money Liu Qi gives him is only enough for him to keep the suits for one day, he lies and says he'll return them tomorrow. Yi becomes enraged and tries to stop them when his sister says she thought they weren't coming back. To flee, Liu Qi throws a special sphere that expands in the middle of the room, pushing all the criminals against the walls as they flee. The siblings are pursued throughout the city until they reach the lines of workers about to be sent to the surface, which the criminals cannot enter. Because of the fake IVs, suits, and clearance pass Liu Qi stole from his grandfather, he and Han Duoduo pass as workers and are permitted to leave the now frozen city of Beijing. They steal a heavy transport vehicle using their grandfather's pass, which Liu Qi is still learning to drive as a trainee. Their takeoff is clumsy, and they collide with other trucks on the way out, but Liu Qi eventually manages to take the road without incident, at least until they reach a vehicle checkpoint and are arrested. They are being pranked in jail by Tim, a young man who is half Chinese and half Australian. 5 hours later, Han Ziyang arrives to bail them out, but he is also arrested for attempting to bribe the warden. Meanwhile, Liu Peking in the space station is keeping an eye on Jupiter to see how much time he has before returning home. As a farewell gift, his fellow astronaut Maxim Makarov gives him a bottle of vodka, which he had to smuggle into the ship because alcohol is not permitted on board. Liu Peking logs in for the final time after finishing his daily chores, and Moss, the ship's AI, congratulates him on his many years of service, which is met with applause from the rest of the crew. They're all unaware that Moss has detected a high likelihood of a collision with Jupiter and is transmitting that information to the UEG. Back on Earth, Han Ziyang is chastising his grandchildren for their actions, and Tim tries to offer commentary, which irritates Liu Qi and causes him to slam his fist against the wall. The wall begins to crumble under his hand, but it's not just the cell. The entire underground city is collapsing due to earthquakes caused by Earth's proximity to Jupiter. As many of the Earth engines fail, Han Ziyang, his grandchildren, and Tim use the broken walls and general confusion to escape from prison. They get back on Han Ziyang's truck and drive away, dodging all of the building parts that are now falling to the ground and the rocks falling from the mountains. Han Ziyang proves to be an excellent driver, driving the truck even through a massive wave of snow until they're out of Beijing. The UEG declares that Emergency Protocol 3 has begun, and that all Earth engines must be restarted within 36 hours. All rescue workers must focus on this task while the space station goes into low consumption mode to consolidate resources, which means all astronauts must also go into hibernation mode. Liu Peking contacts Han Ziyang before joining his crewmates in the capsules so that Moss can direct them to the nearest refuge center. Guards attempt to stop Han Ziyang, but he drives around them, prompting them to pursue them and park their vehicle in front of Han Ziyang's truck, threatening to shoot if they do not cooperate. These guards turn out to be a military rescue team led by Captain Wang Li, who instructs them to follow emergency protocols and use their truck to transport a lighter core to Hangzhou to restart the engine. The ride through the snow is uneventful, But things change when they arrive at Shanghai's frozen ruins, which appear to be unstable. Wang Li dispatches some of his men in a drone to recon the area, and instructs the trucks to drive carefully through the narrow path ahead of them. They are suddenly contacted by Liu Peking, who has just entered his hibernation capsule and learned from Moss that his son is also on the mission. He requests that Wang Li drop off all civilians at the nearest refuge, and the captain responds that he can do so with Liu Qi, Han Duoduo, and Tim, but he needs Han Ziyang to drive them there. Liu Peking asks Wang Li to look after Han Ziyang, but Liu Kai interrupts and says his grandfather can leave with his sister and he'll drive. Liu Peking objects to the idea, but Liu Kai tells him that he cannot make decisions for him as he did for his mother. It is then revealed that 17 years ago, when Liu Peking discovered that only one custodian could accompany Liu Kai to the underground city, he decided to forego treating his very sick wife, who didn't have much time left. Her death was the only way he could ensure the survival of his son. Their conversation is cut short when the planes above them begin to crash and the ice beneath the truck begins to crumble, all as a result of Jupiter's gravitational spike. Moss begins loading evacuation procedures on the space station, which confuses Liu Peking. He requests contact with the UEG, but Moss ignores him and releases the hibernation gas into his capsule. Meanwhile, Wang Li's group loses a vehicle to falling rocks and ends up stuck on a road. Everyone begins to abandon their trucks in order to avoid being crushed, and Liu Kai summons one of his special spheres to protect his family, while the soldiers rescue the lighter core, which is humanity's last hope. The group decides to attempt to reach the other side of the ruins by climbing the Shanghai Tower from the inside. As the civilians climb the elevator shaft with the lighter core behind them and the tower begins to crumble, the soldiers try to find a way out and are forced to shoot in a frozen window to clear a path. The majority of the crew makes it to the 75th floor, but the rope begins to fray before Han Ziyang, one of the soldiers, and the core arrive. Because the group is more concerned with dragging in the core, Liu Qi is left holding his grandfather alone, which means he's about to be dragged back into the shaft. To avoid this, Wang Li cuts his rope, causing Han Ziyang to fall, but he is grabbed by the soldier, who throws him into a gap in the wall before the falling elevator crushes him. Han Duoduo and Liu Qi want to help their grandfather, but the situation is too dangerous and there isn't enough time, so Wang Li's team drags them away as Han Ziyang's suit runs out of oxygen. Accepting his fate, he removes his helmet and lets the cold kill him while recalling how, 17 years ago, he rescued baby Han Duoduo from a flood and decided to adopt her, naming her after his daughter. The rest of the group escapes the tower just as it collapses, and Liu Qi is furious at Wang Li for failing to save his grandfather. He tries to punch him but fails because the captain is a fighter. So Liu Qi and his sister decide to abandon the mission because the military group no longer needs them now that they've lost the truck. Tim also decides to accompany them. Liu Peking awakens his body from hibernation aboard the space station. This is a violation of protocol, so the AI awakens two more crew members, Makarov and Hamdan, to make amends. Liu Peking informs them that the station has changed course and has lost contact with Earth, that the planet has been abandoned, and that he is concerned about his son. When Makarov points out that they're in low consumption mode, Liu Peking tells him he's lying and shows him the energy readings on the screen, referring to it as desertion. Makarov agrees to assist him in his plan to enter the main module and stop the station. They put on their suits and open an airlock by planting a bomb made by Liu Peking. They are sucked out as soon as the door opens. Liu Peking manages to hold onto a rope and grabs Makarov's as well, preventing him from floating away before noticing how Jupiter is pulling Earth away. Han Duoduo, Liu Qi, and Tim follow an SOS signal until they come across a truck that has been in a crash but is still intact. Inside, they encounter engineer Lai Yi, who attacks them until they explain that they are rescue workers. The four of them can go home now that Liu Kai has a vehicle he can drive, but they hear an old message from Wang Li's unit saying they're in trouble and need help transporting the core because it's the underground city's only hope. So Liu Kai caves and decides to drive back to them. Meanwhile, Wang Li's team has arrived at the Hangzhou engine, only to discover that it has been destroyed. Agent Zhao Quan is enraged when one of the teammates drops behind them frozen to death, prompting her to shoot the core and declare that she does not want to see any more deaths. When Liu Qi and the others arrive and inform them that there is another lighter core in the truck, everyone agrees to work together to transport it to the engine in Sulawesi. Back at the station, Liu Peking and Makarov are climbing the ship's structure to reach the main module, which is circling them and pushing them off the rails as it approaches. Both astronauts manage to grab a different rail and plan to jump on the module when it passes by again. Liu Peking succeeds, but Makarov is killed by the automated security measures. There's no time to mourn, so Liu Peking rushes into the main module via a nearby hatch and attempts to stop the station, but manual override is ineffective. Moss explains that this is not desertion. All of its actions have been approved by the UEG and are perfectly legal. When Liu Ke's team arrives in Sulawesi, they discover that the engine, along with 90% of the engines on the planet, has already been fully restored. They are now so close to Jupiter's gravitational pull that the engines can no longer divert the trajectory. Moss anticipated this and informed the UEG, which is why they authorized the space station evacuation. The AI now prioritizes a new mission. Instead of assisting Earth, the station must carry out a project called Helios. Earth will collide with Jupiter in 7 days, so Moss sends out a final message informing everyone about Helios. The spaceship will act as an interstellar ark, transporting 300,000 embryos, 100 seeds of basic crops, DNA maps of all known species, and digital libraries of all human civilizations to a planet with a suitable biosphere in order to establish a new Earth there. The AI says nice things about humanity, but people are panicking and rioting in the underground cities. Liu Peking should return to his hibernation capsule, but he requests that Moss assist him in having a final conversation with his son. Unfortunately, Moss is unable to locate Liu Ke, so both father and son reminisce about the good old days and the night they saw Jupiter together. This recalls an important fact. Jupiter is composed of 95% hydrogen and has been absorbing Earth's atmosphere. When Liu Ke tells Lai Yi this, the engineer becomes excited because he realizes there is still hope. With all the oxygen Jupiter has sucked in, lighting up the planet could create a combustion shockwave powerful enough to push Earth away. They'd only need one match, which is the Sulawesi engine. Even though it is a dangerous mission, Wang Li's team accepts it because it is preferable to waiting a week for their deaths. The group travels by truck to the control center, where Lai Yi assigns each teammate a task to complete during the execution of their plan, and Wang Li unsuccessfully attempts to contact the space station. All other rescue units are evacuating the area and are ignoring Wang Li's request for assistance, so they will have to do this on their own. Before the team departs on the mission, Liu Ke and Wang Li shake hands. The group splits after entering the engine building. Han Duoduo and Zhao Kan will go to the communications room to request reinforcements. Lai Q and Tim will transport the lighter core to the reaction chamber. Wang Li and his men will manually unlock the engine, and Lai Yi will take control of the system to concentrate all of the energy in only one nozzle. Han Duoduo attempts to contact the other rescue units, but they either ignore her or are unable to understand what she is saying. While Lai Q and Tim force their way into the reaction chamber, Lai Yi hacks his way into the system and instructs Wang Li's team to begin pushing the enormous pin. Things appear to be going well at first, but problems soon emerge. Lai Yi is unable to shut down the engine because his software is stuck at 99%, so a colleague named Lao steps in. He'll need to go into the CPU room and reconfigure the connections. This causes the engine to not fully incorporate the core, requiring Lai Q to jump in and push it manually. It also causes some vibrations in the area, causing walls to crumble. When protecting Han Duoduo and Lai Yi, Zhao Kan is killed by debris that falls between Wang Li's team and the locking pin. While Lai Q detaches the lighter core and pushes it further, Han Duoduo discovers an astronaut tag and uses it to contact Liu Peking and inform him of their plan. Moss interjects, saying that some Israeli scientists had already considered this and calculated that it would not work, but Liu Peking doesn't care and calls the UEG anyway. He requests reinforcements be sent to Sulawesi, only to be denied. Liu Peking, not wanting to give up, speaks from the heart and tells the government to think of the children, so the UEG decides to give him a chance. They are still unable to issue such orders, but they will allow someone to speak directly with the rescue units, so that each person can decide whether to join this kamikaze mission or spend the last few days with their families. Han Duoduo has been chosen to speak with the rescuers. She sends out a message about being scared but still wanting to help, and she mentions hope. This is enough to convince most rescue units to turn around and rush to their aid. After her speech, she joins Wang Li's team to assist them in pushing, while Liu Peking begins redirecting other engines towards Jupiter as well. Liu Ke manages to kick the core into place but becomes trapped inside the chamber. Tim rescues him by grabbing his rope and jumping off the bridge to create a counterweight. Liu Ke is safely dragged onto the bridge, and he pulls Tim up alongside him before getting into the truck and fleeing the room before it explodes. In the meantime, Lao Yi connects the CPU with the new configuration, just before dying from the wounds caused by the debris that fell on him. When Lai Yi's software reaches 100% and shuts down the engine, the only thing left to do is manual unlocking. Wang Li's team is still struggling with the pin, but luckily, reinforcement teams arrive and assist them in pushing the pin into place. The engines are fired up, but the explosive range is insufficient to ignite the hydrogen. Liu Peking notices this on the station monitor and decides to assist by using the spaceship's 300,000 tons of fuel. He requests permission from the UEG to enter the plasma beam, but he is denied because the station's purpose is to ensure humanity's survival with Helios. When the UEG hangs up on him and Moss tells him that it will prevent him from trying anything, Liu Peking takes drastic action. He grabs the bottle of vodka Makarov had given him and throws it at Moss, setting it on fire and effectively disabling it. Liu Peking regains manual control of the station and begins directing it toward the plasma beam while listening to a message from the UEG, stating that they have decided to go with hope and respect his decision. During his final moments, Liu Peking contacts Earth and instructs the team not to turn off the engines, despite Liu Kei's protests. He apologizes to his son and, as he did 17 years ago, tells him to look up at the sky and see his father as a star. When the station collides with the plasma beam, the resulting explosion is powerful enough to blow up Jupiter and push Earth away. The team and the rescue units flee to the underground city, but Liu Kai refuses to leave without Han Duoduo, who is collapsed unconscious under some debris. Lai Yi instructs them to take cover beneath the engine, which should mitigate the force of the shockwave. Wang Li is killed when the entire building collapses, and the siblings fall into an abyss, only to be saved by one of Liu Kei's special spheres. When a piece of machinery strikes the sphere, the siblings are ejected, and Liu Kai's helmet cracks. Han Duoduo begs Tim for assistance as Earth's engines restart, allowing the planet to leave Jupiter's atmosphere. 3 years later, humanity has launched a new mission to remove Earth from the solar system before the expanding sun consumes it entirely. While the wandering Earth travels towards the Alpha Centauri star system, Liu Kai, Han Duoduo, and Lai Yi work as transport vehicle drivers. So what did you think of this movie? Leave it in the comments below. And if you liked the video, please like and subscribe for more movie recaps. See you in the next video.